Hi there folks, this is going to be a walkthrough of the Emerald Papyrus tarot deck. So this is a tarot deck of Egyptian symbolism and lore, and it's by Yana and Levie. Now, as you can kind of see here, one of the challenges that I'm going to have is the box and the cards as well, and the book. They have this beautiful gold embossed letters on them. As you can see, when I move the box, depending on the light hits it, it means that when I'm showing you the cards, I'm going to have to move them a bit so that you get to see them properly and appreciate them. But we will do our best. So as you can see, it's got one of these magnetic boxes with the kind of a space where the cards sit, and then a space for the book on top. The artwork in the box is stunning. As you can see, the flimsiness of the cardboard isn't the best, but it doesn't have to be. All it needs to do is hold the cards, and it does that, so we're all good. Now the cards sit in here inside a second kind of a two-part box, so you can see it's kind of a nice and sparkly. It's kind of a matte, reasonably sturdy box. It's got this beautiful scarab, almost like a seal on it, which is a nice touch. And as you can see inside, it's got this gold kind of a bit where the cards sit. So that sits in there like that, and then we have the book, which sits on top there. So that's how it's stored. Beautiful presentation, in my opinion. The book, let's just have a wee look at that. So as I say, gold embossing on the book as well. Even the letters on the back. I was having a look to see what information we get in this book, and it's actually pretty impressive. There's been a great effort to provide the reader with, lots of information. It's, no one tarot book is ever going to be the be all and end all. But this does kind of go out its way to try and give as much information so as that if a beginner picks up this deck, they've got a pretty good start, in my opinion. So we start off with some information, on the history and the evolution of tarot. We then go into some information on Egypt and link that with the tarot. We got information on, let me see, so we've got like the Fool's Journey, embracing the unknown, lessons in growth and wisdom. It kind of keeps going. There's quite a lot here. So every effort has been going to provide a full and complete book. So we then talk about the Fool's Journey, archetypal lessons, the majors, the minors, some information on just generally the majors and minors. Let's see, we've got understanding card imbuing, rituals that you can do with the cards, some information about significators, and then we come on to the information on the cards themselves. Now, we have a section for the major arcana that tells us all about the Egyptian symbolism on the cards, okay? And let me just kind of thumb through this so that you can get a feel for, so this is like, so we have the Fool, the Magician. So for the Magician, it's Thoth that we have on the Magician, or Thoth, or Thought, or however you want to pronounce it. There's some information on Thoth in relation to tarot, then like an illumination, so some kind of a key phrases, I guess. And at the bottom there, soulful reflection. Now you're probably picking up that the writing in this book is on the small side. So if you perhaps struggle to see smaller writing, then this might be one for a magnifying glass or whatever to assist. So that's the section on the majors and the Egyptian symbolism. Now we then come to the minor arcana, the kind of a traditional section for the minors, and we have the suits, and this is what we get. So we're getting a pictorial representation of the card on its side. Obviously just for space purposes, it certainly doesn't bother me, but just so as you know, that's what it's like. You can see we're getting like some, you know, like a quick one-liner, I guess, on the meaning, a bit more of an in-depth meaning. You're getting all of the associations here. You can see we're getting some, you know, like an evocation and our healing, you know, just some paragraphs. And then bullet points, illumination, so again with the meanings, and the shadow, which I guess would be more like your kind of a few reversals, or just the, you know, the shadow side of each card. So that's what we get for the minors, and that goes all the way through to okay, here we go. So we then get another section for the major arcana, which tells us more about the traditional meanings and symbolism and whatnot. And as you can see, it's like kind of images from the Rider-Waite-Smith that we see here. So traditional meaning, the, you know, the correspondences, a bit more about the meaning. Basically everything that we got for the minors linked to the majors. So we get the section that tells us in depth about the Egyptian symbolism, and then a section for the traditional meanings. And then finally it goes on to tell us about, you know, a thank you note and whatnot from the author. I didn't see anything on spreads. There was that. That's not me that's written this, by the way. Don't know if that's meant to be a spread. Facilitating a more accurate and insightful interpretation of the tarot spread. So yeah, there's a 2-card spread here, but I think that's all we get. So that's the book, and it's I should have said it is a kind of a, how would you describe this? It's kind of like the Wild Unknowns guidebook, but it's not a hardback, but it's, you know, it's pretty sturdy. And then come on to the cards. So as you can see, we've got gold gilding on the sides. You can probably see just from me doing that the artwork is pretty dark. Okay, I'm going to show you it as best I can, but it is quite kind of a you know, it's darker artwork, and that kind of fits in with the theme of the deck, and it goes nicely with that gold embossing. So more or less the same, perhaps a wee bit, you know, like a hair broader, but same height, just a wee bit fatter. I want to tell you about the suits and the courts. So the suit of columns instead of the suit of wands. We have the suit of wings instead of swords. We then have vessels as opposed to cups, and we have discs rather than pentacles. And this might make it or break it for you. The courts are changed up, which isn't automatically a, you know, a negative, but what it does do, so we've got the oracle is in place of the page, and then the queen is in the second court position. So I believe that the queen in this deck is actually the knight in a traditional deck. And then we have the priestess would be your queen, and the goddess is what would normally be your king in a traditional deck. Now, so the fact that the queen is now the knight that I would imagine that might put some people off. What I would say though is it's probably not that far out to just, if it bugs you, to just swap these round. Because if you think about it, a priestess is an active energy. A priestess is a practitioner. So you could kind of think of them as being like knights, you know, because the knight represents that active energy. So if the whole queen being the knight thing is going to bug you, then you could always swap them round. Okay. So without further ado, let me zoom in a wee bit and I will do a flip through for you. just realised I didn't show you the backs of the cards. So these are the backs. They are, you know, mostly black. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's actually, like, it looks like kind of a rays of light, but they're very faint. And it's got this kind of a gold embossing on it as well. So that's the back of the card. And finally, I always like just to show you how it shuffles and let you see some of the cards laid out. So it's quite a thicker deck. So riffle shuffling it is, you know, it's quite sturdy. So riffle shuffling it is going to be challenging. Now, I riffle shuffle all my decks, regardless of whether they've got, you know, gilded edges or not. It does wear the edges on most, if not all decks, so that's something to be aware of. That's going to bug you, don't riffle shuffle it. Overhands nicely because it's a nice size. And let's see some of the cards laid out together. So it is quite dark, as you can see, but you know, that might be your aesthetic. So the artwork is pretty stunning. I'm not usually a fan of photographic decks, but I do love Egyptian mythology and symbolism, and I love snakes as well. And if you noticed it in the wings suit, there's quite a few images of snakes, and that was kind of what made me go for it. I got this from Tarot by Peachy, Sarah at Tarot by Peachy, so check out her website. If you search Tarot by Peachy, you'll find it. I'll put a link in the description. Check her out. She sells some amazing indie decks over here in Scotland. Ships to everywhere, but it's handy for, you know, decks that are coming from overseas, because you can buy them from her and don't need to pay some of those horrible shipping fees that we all detest. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this. Take care, and I'll see you all later. Bye.